Welcome to the Solar Panel, the podcast focusing on all things ESG within the warehouse logistics and fulfillment sector. Joining me today and becoming the fifth members of the panel of experts is double act Steve and Val from the recruitment company with a difference, Tempus Novo. Hi guys.
Tony, hi, great to hear you.
How are you doing?
Hi, yeah, Val. We're good. Busy, but busy's good.
I'm very much looking forward to trying to keep you two under control in this podcast.
No chance
go easy on me.
Many a governor tried that over the years and failed miserably.
I'm sure they did. Right, let's get straight to it. Why don't we start with a bit of background on you guys? What's your background? What's Tempus Novo all about?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Steve, by the way, co-founder of Tempus Novo, a charity that supports people with convictions into sustainable, and I stress that word, sustainable employment. Val and I, Val being the co-founder, our background's been working in prisons with 3 decades of working in prisons each. And we came across people in and out of prison. And you just think to yourself, what a waste of life. And then when you get speaking to these people, you think, well, actually, they've got a good personality, a decent attitude. They work hard in prison. I'd probably employ them myself.
Yeah.
So let's try to transfer that want to work, which I know for any employer is a godsend anyway, the way things are generally, to the outside world. And back in 2012, Val and I got our heads together, still working in the service, to create a model which we felt was fit for purpose and could potentially grow and become actually not only something that reduces reoffending and helps people out of poverty, which is what it does, but people can then become good employees, actually, hard-working, loyal employees. And 9 years on, I think we're nearly at 800, Val.
Yeah, 775. I'll tell you a little bit about me. So Val Vavrosh, good old Yorkshire name. My father was Polish. I'm an ex-miner, by the way. So I started in the coal mines in 74 till 86, till Margaret Thatcher came along and closed all the pits and let me have a change of career.
Good old Maggie, you see, we wouldn't have met.
No, would have never done this, that's true.
I don't like getting political. Let's move on.
Oh, no, we're apolitical.
So then I joined the service in 88, actually.
He's a sprog.
And did sort of 28 years-ish. And arrived at HM. So when we started, we were both posted to London for a few years, which is what they did. And then you sort of clawed your way back up north.
Well, I actually went to London. I were in posh part.
Yeah.
I were at Scrubs. He were at a place called Huntercombe.
Henley-on-Thames.
It doesn't get a lot posher than that, does it?
Yeah, exactly.
So I did about 2.5 years at the Youth Offenders Institute. Finally got my posting back to Leeds Prison in 1990. And Steve joined me about 6 months after I started at Leeds. And that's where we first met. But didn't really work together that much. But at the sort of latter end of our careers, that's when we sort of got together more. And a couple of projects Steve were doing involved me, and then involved us getting involved in the rehabilitation work.
So did you start this when you were still employed by the prison service, or did you sort of make a clean break?
Well, there lies an interesting story, Tony. So it's difficult in certain prisons doing any sort of rehabilitative work. So there's category A, category B, category C, and category D prisons. And they go down in security, A to D. So people who are nearing the end of the sentences have been risk assessed as low risk if they absconded, because they can't escape from a Cat D prison. There's no security as such. They can walk out anytime they want. They're there on trust.
Yeah.
And there's very few prisons really can do rehabilitative work. And Val and I thought there needs to be more of this. There needs to be more opportunities for people in prison. We'd lock thousands up And we both agreed, actually, when you look at it and analyse why they're there, you know, the majority are there because of poverty, and they've never had a chance, never mind a second chance. This is a fact. Many of them have come through the care system.
Yeah.
No parental support.
Yeah.
No, they don't know what love is, sadly. And we thought, you know what? This is wrong. Society's got it all wrong. Just because they've got convictions, they shouldn't be condemned for the rest of their lives. They need a chance. And as we spoke to the people in prison to see if they were actually up for a different way of living, then the vast majority, well, first of all, they couldn't believe that we wanted to do it because we've been banging them up and rolling around on the floor with most of them for years. But secondly...
And that were other staff.
That's just staff, yeah. But secondly, they genuinely wanted and felt appreciated and worthy that we'd spotted this and wanted to help them.
I think the answer to your question is basically we started doing it whilst we were still serving, and it got us into a bit of trouble and we got investigated.
Well, what happened? So Val and I were having to see prisoners in our lunchtime in local McDonald's down the road on his days off to try and get this off the ground.
Yeah.
There's an unwritten rule in prisons that you don't have contact with prisoners outside of work. For obvious reasons, it's a very high secure environment.
Yeah.
And there is potential there for being coerced, you know, etc. We were having to see prisoners outside of his normal working hours, so lunch times, other staff were checking and what are they doing on the wing, look, seeing Smithy. And it culminated in the governor got a bit nervous about it. Even though he knew us very well, we'd got a decent history and all, but there were trust elements at risk, and basically it culminated in that we got called up. I got sent to another prison for 6 months to separate us, and I think they thought, well, we've put pay to that idea. And bizarrely, what we also noticed, people are very jealous, Tony, when something's working or looks to be exciting people. And there's only a small handful of people that'll actually put their hands up. And, you know, most people within civil service, I would suggest, they haven't got that entrepreneurial spirit. I always say no risk, no progress. And Val and I are very much the opposite. We're quite maverick. We do get pulled in now and again by one of our chairman or president. Coincidentally, our president is a former minister and former offender himself, Jonathan Aitken. I'm going to give that guy has been our rock for years now, both in terms of he's been there for us if we've had any really difficult issues with the board of trustees to guide and support us. And he's invited us into his home. We've become good friends.
How much political support did you need? Did you need some? I guess maybe you did.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. I think
it's always handy to have, see, people in the prison service. If we didn't have these people high up in Westminster that sort of walk all over us and trample us and stop us doing what we're doing.
That's true.
So we made a determined effort to get some powerful people on board, if we're honest,
we did,
to stop that happening. And it certainly has helped having people like Jonathan introduce us to prison ministers, justice secretaries.
Yeah.
I think we've met probably 5 of each in the last 3 years, which is ridiculous.
I think it's important because, as Val says, it reduces the resistance and opens doors that we couldn't have opened.
Sure.
But
let's get on to some of the practicalities of it, because you know, you two are. I saw the UKWA conference last year. You're an absolute inspiration. You know, we talk about purpose-driven businesses, and you two are the epitome of it for me.
Thank you.
So let's talk about. You know, I'm looking at, you know, using you guys, looking at, you know, possibly taking an offender on or you know, somebody with a criminal record or two.
Yeah.
How do you overcome the objections and the preconceived ideas? Talk about that for a minute.
It's a good question, because clearly when you're working with people with convictions, there's victims. And I think most people quite rightly are sympathetic to that. But then that has a negative effect on how you think about the offenders. Like I pointed out earlier, most offenders have actually come from nothing. They've never had a chance, never mind a second chance, and they they get roped into the wrong way of life, and they want to move out of it.
I think one of the things I do, if I'm honest, Tony, when I meet a new company and they've got all these worries and, you know, about taking on criminals, I'll say to them, how many people do you employ at the minute? And they're, you know, there'll be 100, 200, 300, 5,000, however big the company is. I'll say, do you use recruitment agencies? Yeah, we do, yeah. I'll say to them, I guarantee you'll be working and employing ex-offenders, and you'll not know about it.
Yeah.
The one thing you'll get from us is we filtered out the undesirables. So the sex offenders, the arsonists, the terrorists and the murderers, we filter those out for you. So you know for a fact you're not going to get that type of...
Yeah, we have a model.
Cards on the table, you'll know everything about these people, and we'll make sure that they want to work with you.
It. Transparency is important. We went out and learned, obviously, about different business cultures and what can work for them, and then built our model around that, really, as well as what works well for the ex-offenders.
And I will also say, now that we've been running 9 years, we've got actually big companies now coming to us because they've seen the work we've done with other big organisations like Clipper Logistics, GXO, and we've just had P. Maersk wanting to work with us, Coca-Cola. We've got quite a few other companies that are wanting to work with us.
From where we started out I suppose essentially we would be a charity helping people out of a bad place into a better one and reducing reoffending. Because of the model that we designed and the outcomes and the results that we've got, as Val's just said, we're living in dreamland. You know, to have AP, Moll and Maersk saying we want to work with you, John Lewis and partners, more recently Coca-Cola. It's incredible. And we're not talking big numbers here, we're talking quality. We'll always be quality over quantity. And we are very much purpose over profit, although profit's vital in any business.
Of course it is, absolutely.
But businesses need to step up to the plate as well. We don't work with just any company. We want to see, actually, what do you do beyond making profit? Where's your diversity and inclusivity policy, and how do you evidence what you do? Because you're working with a marginalised group of people, such as ex-offenders, and it's a great tick in their box. And I hate using that phrase because we're not a tick-the-box organisation. But around ESG, as you know, is becoming more and more important, and quite rightly. We want to work with companies that have the similar values to us and that are ethical and care.
And it's not just about placing them into a job, Tony. What we strive our best to do, it's about keeping them.
Sustainability.
Sustainability, because without that, they just go back to crime.
Well, we wouldn't have lasted 2 minutes if we didn't.
So we provide not just the lads and lasses that we place, but we also provide the company 12-month support, which is key to the success of what we do and why we are so successful. And lots of other organisations trying to do this work are not successful. And that's the key to it. The 12-month support is one of the main things that the companies love in particular.
And our understanding of the criminal justice system, it's a very difficult place to navigate. You've got to understand the different cultures within it. So you've got police and prisons are very different. Prisons and probation are very different. And you've got to know and be able to navigate your way through all that. And it's bloody hard. I mean, we've got 60 years service between us and we struggle. So God help anybody that's never worked in this industry.
Oh, I can imagine. I can only imagine. Talk to me about Clipper, because were they sort of your biggest, or sort of your, one of your very early customers? Because I know you've got a great relationship with those guys down there.
Yes.
If you look at Clipper's Fresh Start program, which is under their diversity and inclusivity page on the website, it's well worth a visit.
It's obviously now GXO, by the way.
Oh, is it? Oh, right. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, GXO have acquired them, and it's official that they're going as a GXO. But it's absolutely right to refer to, because the story started with Clipper 5 years ago. And now, I think 300 people have employed through us.
Almost 300, yeah.
And we were the catalyst for their Chief People Officer, Richard Cowlishaw, to come up with Fresh Start, which is a programme that they run internally that supports marginalised groups, not only ex-offenders, but ex-forces,
disabled,
people with drug and drink problems, people with disabilities, single mums. Richard thought to himself, there's Brexit coming up, it's going to be a different landscape recruiting. If we can recruit ex-offenders successfully, then surely we can do it with other groups, marginalised groups. And he said, we'll give it the name Fresh Start, so everybody's got something to look at and identify with. He got his HR teams together and he said, right, this is what we're going to do as a company. This is the part I'd like to play in it, and this person here is heading it up. And very successfully, they went on to employ, I think, 1,500 people within about 18 months, 2 years. They went on to win lots of awards for diversity and inclusivity, quite rightly. They even received social investment of about £4 or £5 million based on that. So it just shows to any businesses out there that actually recruiting differently. And what am I going to get out of it? Well, actually, a lot of bloody money.
and they also won government contracts for delivering PPE in
that's true
in COVID.
Yeah, because again, government contracts are marked now, I believe, not only on how good are you as a business, but what are you doing beyond that for society?
Yes, absolutely. What are the softer things that you think Clipper sort of GXO are benefiting from? There must be some other things other than, you know, getting a great team of people to go and work for them. What are the other things that they're seeing?
Well, to be honest, I think their people are happier in the job. And I'll give you an example. Yeah. I've received recently 2 or 3 emails from warehouse managers saying, do you know what? This is the best part of my job, is supporting these people coming from prison. Because they get that feel-good factor.
No, I was just going to say, so there's
nothing better.
There's something you get, you know, by helping to change someone's life. And they come up and they're putting their arms around you and thanking you time and time again. Thanks for that. I'd have never got anywhere without you, Val, you know. And I said, no, it's not just me. I said, we've given you the opportunity, but you've taken it, grabbed it with both hands and made the most of it. I said, so you've done most of it. But you know the feel-good factor by helping to change people's lives, you cannot buy that.
No, you can't.
You can't. It's priceless.
It's very special. And we're we believe really, really strongly that when you do good, good comes back to you. Well, we can give you so many examples over the years. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. In fact, we think there's something out there. Now, this might sound a bit ridiculous, but between us, we've both said there's something helping us.
It does sound ridiculous, Val, you're right.
I think that's the idea of having a purpose-driven business. It's supposed to be easier if you get a good purpose behind you.
Well,
not just trying to make money. You know,
have you heard? So Simon Sinek.
I know Simon. I don't know him, but I've read his book several times.
So he says about the why. People don't buy what you do, how you do it. They buy why you do it.
Correct.
Why we do it is because we care.
Yeah.
That's what gets us out of bed every day. We want to change people's lives.
That's it.
And it's phenomenal how Clipper, they care as well. And they do, they're so focused on the why.
Well, they've certainly been, bottom line, because they've been bought out for 1.1 billion.
Exactly. Now, GXO.
Just because of you guys.
Yes. Well, we'll claim it. So basically, I think you look around GXO, these companies that are now coming our way, they do have some fantastic policies around diversity and inclusivity, great values, and they do actually sort of live them, because we're seeing it in how they deal with our people, which is nice. And going forward, it's important that we maintain that. You know, it's about quality and caring.
What do we do if we don't try to get these people back into work or into work for the first time? Shall we just let it continue like it has done for past decades, and the prison population just growing and growing and growing?
Good point.
Or shall we stop that, put these people into work, less crime, safer streets, and all of that?
Well, less crime, less victims.
The savings to the economy are staggering. £48,000 per person to keep them in prison for a year.
It's a no-brainer for me, Val. It's an absolute no-brainer. Absolute no-brainer.
Well,
exactly.
I think 2018 was last estimate of what it was costing the UK on reoffending alone. Not new offending, reoffending. So the people we're talking about, we help predominantly. £18.1 billion. Now that, you can't allow that to continue, surely. So we're having our small impact, but it is growing.
Yeah.
So how do people get involved? Where are you based? You know, I'm sure there'll be some people want to pick up the phone and speak to you. How do they get in touch? Whereabouts are you trading from? How's it work?
We're actually, our main office is in Leeds, outside the prison, but at the prison. But we've also opened an office in Milton Keynes. We do work around the country a little bit in small ways, but we work with about 6 Category D establishments across the country: Buckinghamshire, Derbyshire, Teesside, Manchester, York, and obviously Yorkshire. We cover mainly Yorkshire.
How do they get in touch with us?
How do they get in touch with us? They can get in touch by going on the website, on our website, www.tempusnovo.org, or they can contact.
There's a phone number on there.
There's a phone number on there for the office, through the admin. Just give us a ring, and we'll get back to you straight away.
You must be growing like mad, you two.
Do you know what?
Steve's about 3 stone heavier now.
Yes. Yeah. You know what? The only thing that holds us back, Tony, is funds. As a charity, most of our funding comes from foundation trusts, which are phenomenal organisations doing so much work under the radar. Mainly, they deserve more plaudits. It's phenomenal what the support they give us. We have, and if you'd have told me this would have happened, I'd have had you drug tested, by the way, back in when we first started. We've now got businesses who make a charitable donation to give us sustainability, such as the value they see in our service. So we've gone from knocking on companies' doors saying, will you give this fella or this girl a chance, to them saying, how many more have you got like that? And we find that they stay with us, they're loyal, and you're well worth a significant donation. So going forward, we're working with Sheffield Hallam University on a strategy around funding and growing the organisation. There's a need for it, obviously. Most sensible people get it. As Val says, the alternative is more crime, more waste. It's a no-brainer.
All we want in funding for is to grow, like you've said, Tony. So we can provide this service for more people.
Oh, I want to get rich as well.
Too late for that, Steve.
Yes, that's true.
People in prisons, and I've had this said to me by several prisoners, have got no hope. And we give them that little glimmer of hope. And all we want to do is provide our service for more people. So yeah, funding is always welcome. It's always a problem. But all we want to do is to make our service more available.
We just want to be able to wash our own faces.
That's it.
And it'd be fantastic if in 2 or 3 years we didn't have to go cap in hand to these foundation trusts that do incredible work.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure if you keep working at it, you'll find a way to make that happen. You know, what you're doing is phenomenal. Guys, I could talk to you for hours about this.
Thanks.
But unfortunately, I can't. It's a podcast. So if you're interested, I'm sure there's some companies out there will be. Reach out to them. You'll get hold of them on LinkedIn. They work around the country, but predominantly around the Leeds area. And they do amazing work. And I always find you really interesting to talk to. So I'm sure I'll bump into you over the next few months at the various exhibitions that we're going to. I'm sure I'll see you about.
Hopefully.
But that's all for this episode of the Solar Panel Podcast. All that's left for me to do is thank Steve and Val. Thanks for going easy on me, guys. Really appreciate you coming down. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony, for the opportunity and everything that you do.
Yeah.
Thank you. I would also like to thank Kyle Swindells, the producer and marketeer extraordinaire, for putting this podcast together. Thank you, Kyle. And as my daughter, cheers, Kyle. Yes, as my daughter constantly reminds me, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell. I've still not worked out what that means, guys. I'm Tony Gresty. That was the Solar Panel Podcast. Thanks for listening. Until next time. Goodbye.